the ocean is so healing. And so it was that afternoon I had my blanket. That afternoon I sat there and I just looked up at the sky and I was just like, God, just give me a sign you have them.
Well, we're here with an incredible story. I want to introduce you to Candy Wolff, which is a really cool name, by the way, Candy.
Thank you.
And we can laugh now, but what a story you have to tell. Candy's a mom of 3 grown boys and not only a hardworking woman, also now an inspirational speaker. And life is tough, and she lost her husband, and it's an incredible story. Candy shares a poignant narrative of tragedy and, with the grace of God, a triumphant journey from being lost to found in the heart of Mexico. And that's why, Candy, your book is called Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery. What an excellent read this is for anyone going through the loss of a spouse or any type of a grief journey. It all started when you met your husband, Ross. Started loving on your 3 boys and you became a family, right?
We did, yeah. He had no kids and he took in my 3 boys just like they were his own. It was
great.
Absolutely amazing.
When did you meet?
Gosh, we met in 2006. He had moved from Minnesota down to Arizona, and I had moved from Montana down to Arizona.
And that's where you met, was in Arizona.
And we were actually, both going through divorces at the same time.
Yeah.
And we just kind of connected, and hockey actually was something that was very near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yeah.
And that's where it began.
Absolutely. And also, before we really get into your story, I mean, you are still a brand new widow, really. It was January of 2023.
Yeah, January 27th of 23, so just 20 months ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I would love for you to share a little bit about your love story and then about that place that you love to go in Cabo.
Yes, of course. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a truly a God thing. I don't ever believe in coincidences. I believe God works in mysterious ways, and he put us together. Like, out of all the people that would be in, Phoenix, Arizona, that he would actually walk through the door of where I was working and just start up a conversation and just became good friends. And then his best friend was down there as well. And he became good, with like an uncle to my kiddos. And it was just amazing. And then we ended up moving from Arizona up to Colorado for about 6 months for work. And then his father actually had Parkinson's. So, and he's from here, White Bear Lake, born and raised up there. So he wanted to be closer to, mom and dad to help out.
Yeah.
So we came here and, he literally, my oldest now, hard to believe, but he's 18 and in college, but he started raising them with me he was just a little over a year old. Oh. So it was dad.
So Ross was his dad.
Yeah, that is dad.
Yeah.
So, and even like the middle on Eli was right around 3.5.
Yeah.
So it was his dad too. So
very young.
Yeah, very young. So
that is so amazing. I'm talking with Candy Wolff. The name of the book, I don't even know if I said, Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery.
Oh my gosh, Cabo was literally our heaven on earth. We had been going there for 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was...
How long were you guys married?
17 years.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to say. Because it was right away we started going because we have a good friend that has a house down there.
Yeah.
And so he let us stay there every year. It was just whenever we wanted to go, we could bring our family. And it was just literally our heaven on earth.
What a gift.
It was. I mean, to have a friend that just gives you his house for, weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because every time we'd go down there, it was like, this is where we want to retire. Like someday this is where we want to be. And going down there and doing all our fun things, we always talked about, well, if one of us passes away, we want some of our ashes, to be spread down there. But we were hoping we would be retired, at least half a year down there and half here. Yeah, we just absolutely loved it. And it was crazy.
I have to stop you because I love the version that reminded me of course, we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. But the translation was we can throw our dice, but the Lord determines where they land, right?
Yep. That was one of my favorite verses.
Because I always thought my husband and I know that we were going to heaven one day, but we're going to be 90,
Yeah, you think you're going to live forever. Yeah. So, Kate got to be my 50th. We're getting close to my 50th. And I'm like, all right, we're going to Mexico. We're going to Cabo for my birthday. And just so happened, I called our friend, and he is such a generous man. He had donated that week to a charity very dear and near to his heart. So that week was taken. So of all the years that we went, God works, like I said, in mysterious ways. We ended up in a resort in downtown Cabo.
Okay.
So, you look at it thinking, oh, this is not right. It's not our same place. But looking back, he had me there for a reason.
Had he been in bad health up until then?
Well, he had lost his job.
Because he was a young man.
55,
I would say, definitely.
55. So he had lost his job five years prior to this. We had owned a medical supply company, very successful. Hit the age of 50, they let him go, and just...
That's not fair.
No, it's not at all. When you work your whole life to get to where you are. And so it was very, you're talking about depression, so that was a lot of hurt and pain. And then 6 months before we went on vacation, he had to have a total hip replacement. And then September, so 3 months before, it was a total knee replacement. So he had 2 major surgeries within 6 months before we went on vacation. So he was in a lot of both mental and physical pain, when we went there.
Sure.
So, which was tough. He was unable to do a lot of the stuff that we love to do together.
And I remember you said too, and it's in your book, that he was was an alcoholic.
Yeah, he was recovering alcoholic.
Doing
it would
well.
be, I think it would have been 32 years this year. So at a young age, he
realized it.
He realized.
And I was going to say too, with all the pain and stuff, I mean, that's a strong person too, to not, falter in that.
Yeah,
so.
It's tough. He did. Doctors here only give you so many pain pills, and when we went down there, he did go to the pharmacy, and get some OxyContin, I think it was. And
isn't that strange that that they will just give that to you?
Like, I didn't even think twice about it.
Right. And that happened. I mean, the way you write about it, I mean, you were so transparent. And you that's what the book starts with, is the night of his death at this downtown resort in Cabo. Yeah. And can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah. Yes. So the day before, actually, that Thursday, he just really wasn't feeling good. He had went down to the pool with me, and then about 1 o'clock, he's like, I need to go up and take a nap. And, we had plans to have dinner that night, but just kind of funny. I sat by the pool, and of course, I talked to everyone. So I met a couple from Mendota Heights. I'm in Eagan, and they're right next door.
That's crazy.
Which was another God thing. Ended up meeting a couple from Canada that day, which truly they played into the whole story. Yeah. At that night, he ended up not feeling good, so we didn't go to dinner. Had dinner by myself, and then went down and sat by the ocean and prayed. Just prayed, because I was mad. I was angry, that here we are on my vacation and
on my birthday.
Yep, and he's in bed. So, I went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, and, as women, we kind of know something's not right. Yeah. And I woke up, and the room was just eerie, I guess you could say, and went by and kind of touched his feet. Ross, wake up. Yeah. No movement. I got up on the bed, and as soon as I put my hands on him, he was cold, and I'm shaking him. But I was able to roll his head over a little bit, and he was, completely.
That was my experience as well. Yeah. I found my husband, and I called 911, and they're like, pull him off the bed and give him CPR. I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. Yeah,
and that's why I called down to the front desk, because I'm thinking, do I call 911? Is it the same in Mexico? Do I hit 0? Do I get an operator? Yeah. So I called down and I hit 0 and got someone, and they sent up security and a doctor right away. And, they rolled him over right in front of me, which was even more traumatic, I think. Right. Because it's like, wow, I know he's gone, but I didn't need to see all of it. But then they put an oximeter on him. Yeah. And I almost literally, I was, you're so numb, and it's like your out-of-body experience. And I almost laughed, going,
what are you doing?
He's blue. Are you kidding me? Yeah. You're going to, and then he was pronounced dead right then and there.
It is such a, as you said, traumatic and shocking moment. And it's just the end of your life together. Yeah. You're not aware, right now, things have totally 190,000 million times changed. Yeah, and it will never be the same in an instant.
In an instant, your life is not what you thought it was going to be.
And you then, again, were there by yourself with no other family.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate those
gracious.
waters?
Yeah. I don't speak Spanish. I'm in Mexico. It was hard, but God sent me a couple amazing angels from the resort. One, she actually walked in right before the police ended up coming in, and I'll never forget her words. I mean, I didn't know her, but she walked in, and she's like, Candy, I'm here with you. I'm not going to leave you. You know, you can trust me.
Oh,
and it
goodness.
was like, at that time, you don't think about it.
And
but
she
it's
didn't
like,
have to do that.
No, and she was with me. I mean, we are such good friends to this day. But she encouraged me to go talk to God out by the ocean. And the staff there, I mean, every time I walked by the bellman, it was a hug and a prayer. I mean, everybody just became my family down there. But just the presence of God, when you don't have really anybody else to rely on, and that's who you rely on, he's there. I mean, I had so many wonderful moments with him, and knowing like his presence was with me the whole time.
When I found John so long ago, he was so at peace, and he died of an accidental drug overdose. But that moment that I knew he was gone, I just thought, he got healed in heaven. And right then, it was like the Holy Spirit was right there with me. Yeah. It was a tangible, physical thing. And
yes.
And because we had a great church home and running around like crazy and taking care of this big, fat, blended family, I called it and everything. And then all of a sudden, I knew he was there, but that was when it was, you are my child and I've got you.
Yeah. Yep. And the first verse that came to my mind, too, like when I had to call my mother-in-law, because I was in shock and crying and everything, but it was almost a peace knowing that he was out of pain. I miss him dearly, but I know he's not dealing with that physical pain. But calling my mother-in-law, and the first thing saying was, God has our days numbered. It was his day. It states it right in the Bible that, our our days are numbered. So that's what kind of really helped get me through, knowing that God had him, but he had me.
And then you're wondering what happened.
Yes,
and
constantly.
It must have been very scary, too, because being there by yourself and the police were involved and everything.
Yeah, and then going to the police station and basically...
Did they actually question you?
Yeah, I got brought in, and I was interrogated for about 3 hours. So, and on top of it, and they did the investigation. They stole all my money. They stole all our valuables.
I'm just riveted. I'm talking with Candy Wolff, who wrote Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery. And you said that your friend that you met there, what was her name?
Atazari.
Atazari. Oh, what an incredible angel from heaven for you. And I remember you said before the police got there that she grabbed your cell phones.
Yes.
And just discreetly put them in her pocket because she kind of knew that there was a little things might be taken.
Yes. I mean, they've been through it before. And it was just funny because, she was so adamant about, where is your husband's phone? And it's like, I'm sitting on the bed. I have him his head in my lap, just hugging him and holding him. And she's, eyeing the room, like taking inventory. It was just bizarre. But she found the phone and put it in seconds before the cops came in. And she's the one that when we finally moved rooms, all right, now we need to do inventory of everything.
Yeah.
And she knew, like, everything that was on the counter, she was asking me where everything was. So unfortunately, they deal a lot with it down there, but there's nothing you can do.
Oh my gosh. Well, then ultimately, they released Ross to you, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So it was finally Sunday that I was able to get him.
But then again, you had your suspicions, too, that it wasn't just, quote unquote, a heart attack.
Yeah. Even it was funny, the embassy's great, but they can only help so much. And I was told if I ever wanted the toxicology report, I'd basically have to have an attorney to fight it because it was an odd request.
Where do we go from there? Then he was cremated there in Mexico. How long were you there after?
It ended up being 4 days. So after the day he passed away, that Friday, the Saturday, then I was in the police station. Couldn't have been more happy to walk out of a police station in my life. Then I found out later that day that he was finally going to be released to be able to be cremated because I wasn't leaving without him. And my friends that I met in from Mendota Heights, actually his dad owns a funeral home here. in the cities.
You're kidding.
No. So we talked to his dad, and his dad's like, the best thing you can do is get him cremated because it will cost you a fortune to try, and if you can even get his body back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that Sunday night is when I got the ashes.
I mean, what a mind-riveting experience. Yeah. I think of that too, and I just went back. I was like, I found him early in the morning, actually on Sunday, August 14th, and Monday I'm picking out a box to put him in, with his family, and it was just, how does it go from that to that? And here he is in this box.
Yeah. What? And and I had him sitting on my nightstand. Well, I went down to the ocean actually that
and
night.
Only widows can talk to each other like this.
Yes, I know, because people,
so
I do talk about it. It's like, Atazari's like, take him and go talk to him. That's your favorite place. And go, the ocean is so healing. And so it was that afternoon. I had my blanket. I had him in my box. And I knew he had been struggling with his faith just because of everything that he went through. So that was one thing that did bother me. But that afternoon, I sat there and I just looked up at the sky, and I was just like, God, just give me a sign you have him. And it so brings tears to my eyes because I look up there, and it was a cloud that turned into a hand pointing up to heaven. Oh. And it was like, all right.
Oh my.
He's with you. So
I have chills.
Yeah.
And God will do that. And he did it for me. And I mean, absolutely. And then you are still just dealing with all of the trauma and of what just happened in the last 72 hours or so.
About that.
And then you have to come home, and then you face another reality that you're going home without him.
Yeah, which was, and I think that last night when I had him was, I think everything finally hit me too. That last, when I had him in his box and he was sitting there, and you're in shock. You're just trying to seriously get through that next second.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can do. And I remember falling to my knees by the side of the bed and just throwing my hands up, saying, I just want to be held. I just need someone to hold me because I'm by myself. You don't have that family to. Yeah. And that night when I laid in bed, I swear, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, my husband, I had an physical arm I could feel hold me all night long. And I had never had such a more peaceful night's sleep ever. I mean, it was amazing, yes. And then flying home, and then, it was a whole new issue of finding out with him not working the last 5 years that all of our retirement money is gone.
I have to tell you that is the number one thing after trying to navigate, being a widow and losing your husband in those first minutes, whatever, is the financial situation and how many majority of widows specifically have no idea what their financial situation is. And here you are, just this massive grief, and then you've got these really, really big adult decisions and things to make. And so how did you navigate that?
Thank goodness for my mom and dad. I mean, my dad was a finance guy, so it was nice to have him there, but it was just shocking, I guess, when you open up, and I went through the mail, and the next morning, and because the night before when I got home, that was the one thing, the youngest was still in high school. When I walked through the door, all my family was there. Everybody got home before me, and he gave me the biggest hug, and we were both crying, and he's like, Mom, do we get to stay in our house? And as a mom, it's like, of course, honey, I'm going to do anything and everything to keep us here, not knowing what was ahead of me. And that next day when I opened up and I had a $60,000 check and a piece of paper that said account closed, and it was like,
and that was
this is what I have.
401k, right?
Yeah, this is my life.
And I'm talking with Candy Wolff, who wrote this incredible book called Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery. And it just, so shocking. And my husband had no life insurance at all. Which,
wow.
He thought he did, but it was for his two children that his parents had taken out when he was a single dad. But he always thought it was
for him.
Yeah, and so did I. Because
why would you think anything different?
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, and you are so transparent in this book. I was just like, look at her go. I mean, thank you for being so brutally honest.
Yeah.
And there you are sitting there. Yes, I've got a $60,000 check, but that's the end of what was supposed to be our retirement that he had been using.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, I knew he was taking out of it, you know, to help pay bills. But, you know, we had a very traditional marriage. It was he takes care of the bills and the outside of the house. I take care of the kids and the inside of the house, you know, and I ask questions like, how are we doing, you know, financially? And I think men, that's their identity, is to provide for the family and take care of us. And they don't want to show that weakness that we're in trouble. So it was always, we're fine. Don't worry about it. As soon as I find a job, money will go back, but we're fine. Yeah. We're fine. I never could get a number out of him, and I never had access to it.
Candy, let me ask you this, too. I mean, because you have so many emotions running through you and stuff, and after that, you know, you've gone through what you've gone through in Cabo and Mexico. You're back home finding this out. Were you mad at Ross? And you feel so bad. You've got these conflicting things going. I can't be mad at him and I was so mad at my husband.
Yeah, like you said, you have 1 second you're heartbroken, the next second you're questioning, and then all of a sudden you're like so angry that I'm like, you left me with this mess. You got the easy way out, and now I have to pick up the pieces. You know, and still, it's funny because even after 20 months, it was probably after Labor Day weekend, it kind of hit me again, was like, I called his best friend and I'm like, I'm angry. I'm like, is that okay? He's like, yes, it's okay.
Yes, and it is okay. And you know, I did had one, I went through to a Christian therapist after when I was like, he you know, died, and you know, I know he's in heaven, but he died, but I'm really, really mad at him. And he goes, you know what? You just have to forgive him.
Yeah.
You have to forgive him. And that was like eye-opening to me.
It is.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's just it, is like, I was mad at him the night before he died, so I never said goodnight to him, or I love you. He didn't say he loved me. So, and then the finance. So it's such a process of walking through.
And you're still so early in it. It's just crazy. I was looking at, well, you say through all this that God was faithful. How have you seen that through the good and the bad and the ugly?
You know, he's just there all the time. It's just funny when I got home. It's just like, if you just pay attention, if you let your mind settle down and just pay attention to what's around you, I can physically feel him with me. But I look at my finances. I don't have much. I'm sending, you know, my youngest is off at private school. I mean, part on a scholarship for volleyball, you know, and my oldest is married in Montana, and my middle one lives in St. Paul, is getting married. But I look at my finances, and he provides. I mean, he does. It's, you know, like I give to KTIS monthly. I give to my church monthly. And as long, you know, like he says, if you give me, you know, he's going to help us tenfold.
Yeah.
And
you've seen that.
I look at my checkbook. I have no idea how it happens, but I'm able to pay my bills, and I haven't really had to dip a ton into the life insurance that I finally did get. So, you know, I was lucky
that was
about
that. Hard thing for me to grasp onto too, and it's, you know, all of the sayings, let go and let God, and when you put, what is it, everything in God's hands, you'll see God's hands in everything.
Yes.
And it's so hard for me to let go. And like my pastor said, don't walk around with your fists clenched. Open them up, Pam. Yes. You know, and it's a tough thing to learn. And
it is.
Especially when you think, well, I'm on my own. And back, you know, to the finances too. I just laughed when I read that part in there. You got your $255 check from the government?
I did. Did you get your $255?
Yeah, I think mine was $250 or something, you know, because it was a few more years ago.
Yeah,
but I'm like, what is that?
I know.
That's if you don't know, that's the death benefit that a widow gets from the government.
Yeah. And it's been the same since it started.
Yeah.
It has not changed.
And then I have a friend who lost her husband during the pandemic, and it was her second marriage, and he's very, very well-to-do, and he left her very well set, which is fantastic because she's doing all kinds of work for the disease that he died of. But she also gets his Social Security because she's not working. I called just for the heck of it. I called Social Security, and I said, well, can I get my husband's Social Security? And they said, do you make over $20,000 a year? And I'm like, well, barely. I'm in ministry. I said, well, yes, I make more than 20. Well, then you can't have his money.
Yeah, and then we work, and that's what I fought for. Even he died, so it was 20 days after truly my 50th, and 22 days after my son turned 17.
Yeah.
If he would have been 16, I would have then been able to get widow benefits.
The kids, yeah.
And then, but I didn't. Then I had to fight for Noah, and I went through. I exhausted everything.
And here you are
and
again going through all this red tape, and you're grieving, and you're a brand new widow.
Mm-hmm. And
we need reform.
We do, because and what kills me is he worked his whole life, except for up to those last few years. But when they pass away, if they have not worked in the last year and a half out of the last 3 years, you get nothing. When I get older, I'm 51, but they're like,
you're a young
when
lady.
you're 60, if you don't make anything, then you can have it. And it's like, well, I work full time. I have my book and my speaking, so I won't be making, like you said, $20,000. So
yeah,
I'll just continue to work forever and ever.
and really, and just believe, what it says in the Bible too. And some other people probably should read about the widows and the orphan part.
Yeah, again, for sure.
This is really, really a real chat we're having here. But I know you also mentioned in your book too that there are lots of God winks from heaven, like that first night on the beach when you had Ross's ashes with you and you asked for a sign, and there it was in the sky. Yeah. And how do you feel God's presence in other ways, or have you seen it? Like a God wink.
Yes. This is, I wonder if this is real or my imagination, but I really do believe it was God. One night I was sitting out in my hot tub, and it was getting to be dusk out, and because it was one of our favorite places, our deck. And I just was looking up at the sky and, just praying and talking to God and hoping, that Ross is doing well and he's with his dad now and, other family members.
I always say, give him a hug for me.
Yes, that's what I'm like, give him a big hug and a kiss. And I looked up, and in the clouds, it was like a baby picture, but then it kind of went through from baby to adult. It was like a quick, really fast, like slideshow of him.
Wow.
When I'm sitting there praying or talking, the TV will just turn on. Or we had this little bottle opener thing that it was funny. The stupid thing never worked. It was supposed to say stuff. But then as soon as I came home, and it was always sitting on the nightstand, that I would be either talking to him or talking to God, and it would talk back to me. I'm like, all right, you're here with me.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And it's just like sitting there sometimes, and I just hear my name being called, and it's like, yeah. God has me. He
absolutely. Does. And you also have a chapter. Well, you went back to Cabo then on your own?
No, it was our dear friend that had the house down there.
Okay.
He knew me and my husband we actually had been business partners, and it was Ross's birthday was coming up, and he knew I wanted to spread ashes. So he had called and said, "Can I take you to Cabo?" And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I was scared to death. My whole thing was, my passport's going to scan and I'm going to get arrested.
Oh.
I mean, literally from everything I went through, I was scared to death. But it was funny because a storm started coming in. And so him and I are texting back and forth going, oh, should we go? Should we not? So I reached out to Atazari, my dear friend, and I'm like, okay, are we safe to come? Is this going to turn into a hurricane? Is it fine? And she's like, oh, these happen all the time. You're fine. Well, ended up being a Category 2 hurricane.
Oh, and for crying out loud.
I'm like, all right, God, am I never supposed to come back to Mexico? Is this like a sign?
Yeah.
But we made it through it. And once I got through the, scanning the passport, and then I saw my friend, I'm like, okay, I'm okay.
Right. Oh my! I'm so glad that she was there and that all the rest of them were there.
Yeah.
The name of the book, Lost and Found in Mexico: A Widow's Road to Recovery, and I love your chapter 8, empowering others, and the things that you've learned about finances before this happens. I don't know if Pat Miles, a journalist in the Twin Cities and also in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, she wrote a book called Before All Is Said and Done. and used her journalist powers. And because when her husband died, she didn't even have the pictures on his phone because she didn't know what the password
Me
for his
too.
phone was.
I lost all of his phone. I couldn't get into his computer. And when all of your bills are paid online,
Yeah.
like everyone kept saying, you need to pay your house payment. And I'm like, I would love to pay my house payment, but I don't know who I'm supposed to pay.
Yeah.
But it's devastating. Like I lost everything. Like I had thank God my middle son is an IT guy. So he was able to get into the email at least so I could backtrack a little bit. But all those photos on his phone, and he was the one so I feel for her because I lost 17 years of photos.
Yeah, and it should be like, like many things, if you've got a death certificate, you should be able to present it to Apple or somebody.
I know. Well, thank God Apple now finally has a legacy thing. It just popped up and I did it right away. And so if you go in there, it's a legacy, it's under settings, but I've added my kids now, and you can their phone numbers are attached to a QR code.
Yeah.
I've printed the QR code out. It is in my safe. That was another thing. I didn't know how to get into any of my safes.
Yeah.
So my son, thank God,
Candy,
remembered that.
oh my gosh.
But thank goodness that Apple finally has come up with a way for us, because otherwise you have to go to court.
That allows you to then what?
Once if someone passes away and that like I said, my kids are my legacy, they get into the safe, they take this QR code with my death certificate, and they can go to Apple, and then Apple will give them access to my phone.
To your phone.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, it just happened within probably 3 months ago, and it popped up, and I'm like, praise God.
So there's no way you can recover what's on his phone.
No, I can't. But
you've got.
It's.
Oh, I'm going to tell. I got remarried like 10 years
yes,
ago.
I know.
I'm going to tell
let
Tim.
Yes, please do. Yes.
And then we also have to have your will and have everything. Let everyone know where everything is. Have them know the codes.
Yes,
and things like
the
that.
codes. That was, thank goodness, my kids paid attention. But so like on my website, that's the one thing I did was I put. It's free to download, but it's the top 10 things that I wish I would have known before he lost. Because no one ever wants to talk about what if. It's
the things we don't talk about.
Yeah, and believe me, you have that talk and you know where everything is, then you're able to actually grieve. Because, I mean, just like you and me, we were lost.
Yeah.
And, you didn't have life insurance. I had no money, and it took forever to get life insurance. And not knowing where everything is, you don't have time to really grieve.
Yeah.
You just have to deal.
It's so much emotion. And then just, your big heart in wanting to help others from what you've been through.
Yeah.
I just commend you so much. And if someone is listening right now and they're going, why God, which I did many, many, many times. What encouragement do you have for them?
Literally pray, read. I read my Bible, I do my devotions, but I've read so many books on grief by like Christian authors, because there are tons of books out there on grief, but really make sure you find somebody that it's Bible-based, just because there are a lot of things out there that
are not.
They're not. And it's like you read it and go, oh, I really don't believe with this. And I have no idea how this fits in. So I to this day, like I will get online and search them, and I still read lots of books, and use your family and take care of yourself. That's the one thing that I didn't do. I am very much a busybody between my full-time job.
You're not social at all, are you, Candy?
Between work and this, and then the kids on top of it.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, because I didn't do it. And when I got back, we had Celebration of Life. I went right back to work within 3 weeks. Because that's our busy time for work. And
sometimes just that familiarity of a routine, helps a lot too.
And you don't think about it then until you go to bed.
Yeah. And I think, you need to, as you say, take care of yourself mentally and spiritually. And then, go get those manis and petties and have a massage, because just that sense of touch is so important.
That's the one thing I talked to my kids about is, when people say, what do you miss the most? it's the touch, it's the hugs.
Yeah.
You know, and my kids are, well, if you would just ask me, I'd give you one.
I love each of your chapters starts with a scripture. James 4:14 for chapter 7 says, "Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring." Such a familiar verse. "What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes." The title of the chapter is "Until We Meet Again." But in chapter 8, it's a quote from Candy Wolff from you. "Hug your loved ones and let them know you love them every chance you get, as you never know when that last chance will happen."
Yeah. And that's something that I live with every day.
Yeah,
you know. So
absolutely.
yes.
Well, you can tell with the sparkle in your eye and the smile that you have that God's got you.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. And like I said, I never ever thought I'd write a book in my whole life or be out speaking or doing any of this, but
God
he's
gives
given
you-
me a platform.
Gives you the platform and the words.
Yep. And that's just it. And I just want to help people. That's because, you know, you don't realize what's not out there until all of a sudden you do lose somebody. And it's like, where do I turn? What do I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So.
Well, we could talk for hours, but the book Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do actually. Yep. So it's just www.candywolff, CandyWolff.com. So everything is on there from the book, the free download that you can do for like the top 10 things.
Yeah.
And then I've actually started because I've noticed we started a Facebook group for newer widows or even anybody that's going through any type of grief, because grief doesn't have to be just a loss of a loved one. You know, it can be a relationship, a job, it can be anything. So, so we've started just like a little Facebook group for people, you know, question and answers or, you know, what do you do about this or what do you do about that? So just another tool for people to use. So.
That's wonderful. Candy Wolff, WOLFF.com.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And God has great plans for you, young lady.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.